Hi, everyone. This is my first video from my new office. I say new because it's not really new. It's just I switched rooms with my preteen and I'm still clearly trying to organize things. Hopefully, my background will look better at some point. But I always tell myself I don't want to give myself any other excuses to do the things that I want to do and that I want. And here I am going live. Also, I've been publishing Substack posts now every Thursday since that very end of January. So how many is that? Like at least 30-ish? I didn't exactly count, but it's Thursday and I realized this morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I never wrote my essay for this week. And what am I going to do? I want to keep this momentum going. And I realized, wait a second, this is exactly what I've been talking about with summer. Like sometimes you just need to adapt. Sometimes just need to change things. And so Substack gives me this opportunity to talk to you about the things that have been going through my head in terms of my writing process and all of that, and sharing them with you here. So that's what I'm going to do through a live video versus an article this week. So this is my article for this week. We're going to talk about pre-writing. Before I get to that, though, I felt like I should give like a bit of a background about where I'm at with some of my writing projects. Again, I have my little note card. This is unscripted. I'm just sharing what I have to say about writing in my books, and hopefully it helps you too with your own writing. That's always my goal, to help other people with their writing. And there's a lot going on in my head. So while I do have these notes, expect me to go on some tangents because that's what I tend to do. But again, like I wanted to do this live video for you today to talk about pre-writing. So we'll get there. But first, I want to say I got my feedback from beta readers yesterday. Yesterday was their deadline. Oh no, not yesterday. Oh my gosh, June 30th. See, I'm already all over the place. And it was wonderful and it made sense. And there was a couple things that were I kind of suspected about my book that needed to change, and they all agreed. They all said it, every single one except one. And so, but when you hear that feedback so often, chances are there's something to it, right? Like I'm not going to take every single piece of advice that the beta readers had for me, but I am going to take most of it. And this one thing about one of the characters, I don't want to spoil anything, I needed to change. So I'm working on that. So that's kind of my goal for this month, is really finishing my young adult historical fantasy, because my deadline to my publisher is at the very beginning of September. So I need to finish my edits. I need to do get it proofread, and then I'll move on. So that is my big focus. That's my big project for this month. That said, I like to have other projects so that, like, if I get stuck on something, I could just go work on it with my creative writing. And so every once in a while, I'll just like kind of take a break and I'll work on something else. I'll work on a poem, I'll work on a short story, and then I'll come back to it and I'll feel refreshed and I'll feel ready for that project. So that's where I'm at with my writing. And also, as I've said already on this call, the creative season that we're in, at least for me, and I know from a lot of people from talking to other writers, it's hard to write in summer. It it is so hard to write because we're busy. We've got holidays coming up. We've got the 4th coming up. We've got vacations planned. We have kids in camp versus school. We have new routines, new schedules, all of that. And it can be so hard to find time to give ourselves permission to write. And I recognize that. I cannot tell you how many writers I've spoken to in the last like 2 weeks, especially, who have told me they're like, I think I need to take a break from writing this summer. It's just too hard. Or it's just like I'm not feeling motivated enough, or I've just got too much going on. And I hear you. I 100% hear you. I do, but I also don't want you to put it on the back burner just because it feels hard in this season that we're in. And that's why I wanted to talk about pre-writing, because I think pre-writing can be done in ways that we can fit into little pockets of time. And I know, at least for me, that when I write, even if it's like just a journal entry or something short, I feel better. And so, like, I think, yes, summer is hot and crazy and busy. And the reason I'm doing this video inside is because it is so stinking hot outside. But I want to encourage writers that, yeah, you can find pockets of time. And I'm going to talk about that actually on a workshop I'm hosting next week a lot. So if you still have that drive to tell your story, even in this really busy season, I'd love to chat, because there are ways to do it. And we're going to talk about that in a second here too. Um, so pre-writing. I love pre-writing. I could probably spend way too much pre-writing and thinking about my worlds and my characters and who they are and what their conflict is and how the story will progress. At some point, yes, you do have to stop pre-writing. I completely agree. Like you cannot pre-write forever. But I think it's important. And I think, especially in the season that we're in, pre rating is great because you can do it in little bits. You can think about it. You could do research because research is part of it. You could journal. You can send yourself you make a voice note. You can put a note into your phone. You can talk to people about it because talking to people helps. You can join my free accountability group on Thursday mornings, Chicago time, because just being around people who are excited about their books can help with that too. So pre-writing can be a lot of different things in my mind. So I'm going to talk about two different ways I've done pre-writing before. And if you have any questions about this, let me know. The two examples I'm going to give is my young adult historical fantasy, Becoming Charlotte Corday, which is coming out in April 2027. And this one I had to do a lot of pre-writing for. And even I would call my first draft a pre-writing draft because I did not know what the story was. So I had to kind of redo it. But that also involved a lot of research. So pre-writing also involves research. When I did Becoming Charlotte Corday, I read all sorts of books. I didn't read all of this one. I even have like this little pamphlet from when I went to Paris, the concierge, where she was imprisoned because she was a real person. I have this really old book. You could tell I love this one. It's The Angel of the Assassination. And this is one of the few books that is like really a great source of like what her life was. And then I have this little book that I got from when I used to work at the International Kitchen. And it doesn't have too much in it, but like it has stuff and it has notes to myself in it about my stories and the background. And it's not just the novel, there's other things in it too. But a lot of it is thoughts just I had randomly that I put down and I wanted to document somewhere so I didn't lose them because that is part of pre-writing is like you get an idea and yeah, you're not sure where it's going to go in the book, write it down just so you save it. I also have my writing historical fiction book that I used when I wrote that book. I read that, I marked it up with ideas and things I could use. Again, I had other sources. This really old book, you can see all the tags. And then here we get more into the pre-writing. Well, this is all their other sources, lots of sources. This is a lot of source material that I read through, underlined and played around with and took notes. This all counts in my mind as pre-writing because it's research. You need to know this in order to write your book. This is from when I was at University of Chicago, so it was literally a photocopy request form. Does anybody remember these? And so I have all sorts of notes in here too. And then here we go. This is a short story draft I did that was a background story about one of the characters. You can see I totally marked it up, but this was pre-writing. It was a short story that did not make it into the book itself, but I needed to know it in order to write the book. And that is really helpful. So this is something smaller that you can do to work on your story. It's called considered pre-writing, but you could use it in other ways. And I should actually go back to this honestly and see if I can. And here's some feedback I had gotten from somebody. And it's some notes and things like that. So that's not all pre-writing. Yeah, more notes from readers because getting feedback from other people is important. More research with notes, again, pre-writing. And then here I have some like random loose leaf papers. Again, some of my sources, some exercises I did to work on the book. More of that, more of that. And then here we go. Here's some more writing. And this again, sources, but also stuff I wrote related to it, background material. Pre-writing, oh my gosh, I have not looked at this in forever. So I have a very complex storyline in my historical fantasy. So I literally created a chart and I color coded it so I could see how it all fall together. And this is pre-writing. And you could also handwrite this if you wanted to. And then I got a whole, like, this is not literally not everything I did for Becoming Charlotte Corday. But all of this is different drafts, different chapters. A lot of it is typed. Most of it is typed. Some of it you got pieces here. But if you keep flipping, I've got handwritten things too. So In the summer, yeah, look at all this handwriting. And this is all stuff, notes I took for myself about the characters. And I don't want to spoil anything. I could say Leo either tears a page out of her diary or steals it from her. So like I have just like different ideas in here about things I could do. I even have doodles. Actually, I think my daughter gave me this. So like I have doodles on I have a doodle for my daughter on one side and then notes on the other because that's how mom life works, right? So yeah, that's one version of pre-writing. Is research, it's handwriting, it's doing short stories, all of that. So that was one example, and that was my young adult historical fantasy. My second example is a new adult contemporary. I am calling it contemporary, even though it takes place in 2005 and 2006, because one, the internet told me I can, and two, it's yes, it seems like a long time ago, but it was still only 20 years ago. Okay. That's not historical, but things were different. So for that one, I don't have as much background material yet. And this is actually one notebook. I cannot find the other one, which is making me nervous with this office move, because that has I have one notebook that's purple that has like all my character descriptions in it. So I have notes about characters. I have notes about the storyline and how Bridget, the main character, changes over the book. I have just ideas, slips of thoughts, one lines that singular lines that I want to include, but I wasn't sure exactly where, that sort of thing. And then this one, music is a huge, huge, huge part of my new adult contemporary. And so I started this one I like it because it just reminded me of the early 2000s because it's a composition book. But also, as you can see on here, it says song and poem book. And what I did is because I was trying to write songs, which is different for me. And I have different versions of it in here. And there's a lot of things scratched out, but it was fun. And eventually I started thinking of them as poems. Um, but you can see, yeah, there's lots of different things in here. And then also I even have like a word cloud here where, I have the word wonder in here, and then I try to make associations so I could have that element of music in there because, I need to work on my metaphors, and that word cloud is a good way to do that. But again, like this is all I have, stars next to things I really like. I even wrote like lyrics, but changed to 18. I'm not sure what, because I wrote, "What if we pretend that we were 22 again, if even if only for one night?" Not the best. I need to tweak that clearly as I read that out loud. But, this is what you can do when you're busy in summer and you're looking to do more pre-writing. And then I have some stuff about themes and things like that. So this is another version of pre-writing. Those are in regards to projects that I'm working on. But what if you're like toying with a new idea? Free writing is great. Free writing is great. Working with guided prompts is great because it can get you thinking about things that you want to write about. Um, and then other tricks about like especially if you're just starting and you're busy, because we're all busy this summer, is like you could do voice notes, like I mentioned earlier. You could write in a journal. You can carry something small like this with you. I even have tiny little notebooks that can fit in my I'm blanking on the word all of a sudden, and, on my smaller bags. And that way you can have something with you so that you can keep track of your thoughts as they pop up. Because I don't know about you, but I tend to have the best story ideas or the best lines pop into my head when I'm just about go out and about doing things. And Lord knows we're all out and about doing things right now. Um, so that's my tips about pre-writing and why I think this is such a good season for it. I hope you found some value in it. I'm going to be talking more about pre-writing starting next week in a summer writing momentum workshop that I'm hosting. And it's a paid workshop, and it's about the foundations of our writing. Week one is really going to be focused on pocket writing strategies, which I touched a little bit on today. And it's also going to be focusing on why we want to write the story that's been living in our head, because knowing your why is so important. And then we move into character development and writing the kind of pieces that I talked about today, and giving yourself time to write that. And then we move into mapping your story, because even if you are a pantser, not a plotter. I do think mapping your story and just at least doing pieces of it can help you as you move forward. And even if you plot it and map it, you can still change it, but it just gives you kind of a roadmap to work with. So that's the workshop part 3, and then the last one is what happens when we get stuck and we don't know where a story goes, where we've written ourselves into a corner and we don't know where to go. So that starts July 8th. I'd love to have you there. I'll put a link to join that workshop in the comments of this video once I'm done. And I really hope this inspired you. I'd love to hear if it does. And because I know, again, I will say it so many times. I know we're busy, but I also know how important it is to me to write because I feel better when I give myself permission to write. So if you take anything away from this off the cuff Substack live video that I just made, it's this is you can give yourself permission to write. I'm giving you permission to write. You can write this summer and I will help you and I will help hold you accountable, even if it's just a little nudge with a little message that says, hey, how's it going? And seeing, what maybe might be tripping you up. So thanks for being here. I hope you're staying cool in this hot weather. And I really hope this heat wave where I'm at to break soon, but let's go enjoy the 4th and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.